placing blame. Round and about we play these games.
What is going on, guys? It's Adam and Marf, and today's show is going to be packed. We have everything that has just transpired in the last 24 hours, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this.
Round and about we play these games. Sounding it out, we know their names. It's WHO. Round and around we placing blame. Round and about we play these games.
Remember, nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else on the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. With that being said, my name is Adam, and this is Marfoogle News. Of course, we have a lot to cover today. If you're new here, we actually try to back up every single source that we have. If we show you a video, a tweet, or any source, we actually have a bibliography on our website. If you go to marfooglenews.com, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. You just go to today's thumbnail, of course, happening now. Speaking of the Chinese subs stalking different militaries there, again, this is happening as we speak. Unwelcome Sub-Prise is the show, and then of course once you click on that, you'll see all of the links are right there. Again, down at the bottom of this, you will actually see all of the Too Hot for TV. There is a lot going on. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But again, all of the articles are here, plus a ton more. If you do want to support us, we are completely independent. We do not have a multi-channel network. We do not have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. You are. So thank you guys for being our backbone, and we appreciate the support. Again, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex. How are you doing today, and what is going on?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's get right into it. We have a lot to cover in a short amount of time. USGS detects a massive 7.5 magnitude earthquake in South Atlantic. Says no tsunami danger to islands. That is a really big earthquake. They go up exponentially, of course, but a 7.5 is huge. Anything over a 7 is considered absolutely ginormous. So again, it says the United States Geological Survey, or USGS, reported on Thursday that it had detected an earthquake in the South Atlantic with a magnitude of 7.5 on the Richter scale. Despite the size of the quake, no tsunami warning has been issued. Essentially, a lot of the earthquake community is talking about once you have a big one like this, especially out in the middle of the ocean, that this could trigger other bigger earthquakes. This did not cause a tsunami, so it was most likely not something that pushed plates up too much. But this is the same kind of thing that happened in Japan. Japan, they didn't even know about the possible 9.0, and then all of a sudden, boom, it snapped, and they had a tsunami and very little time to prepare for it. Again, we actually had several hours here in the United States to know that we had a huge wave coming our way. But when the Cascadia or something like that happens, it's going to happen that fast as well, only there will be a guaranteed tsunami. So I highly recommend that everybody have their earthquake kits, especially if you are in anywhere around the Ring of Fire, if you are on the West Coast especially, but anywhere should be prepared for this kind of stuff. This is something that I think that everyone can prepare for, and everyone is actually on a fault line, more or less. Most of you are. It says, according to USGS data, the earthquake occurred deep in the Earth's crust at a depth of 63 kilometers, so very deep. Its location was about 100 kilometers northeast of Montagu Island, part of the Southwest Sandwich Islands, or about 21 kilometers or 2,100 kilometers southeast of Stanley in the Falkland Islands. St. Helena is about equal distance. The islands are a British dependency. So big earthquakes mean, of course, increased chances of other ones in the Ring of Fire and around to go off. So make sure to watch your apps. And then, of course, Elon Musk says Jeff Bezos would be on Pluto by now if lobbying and lawyers could get you to orbit. Dex, is this some fighting words here, or is this just back and forth?
They're going at it. It's really funny too. Oh yeah, they're a little bit of jealousy here.
Also, after I've at least seen Jeff Bezos now 3 times. One was questionable. Again, I posted the video and my wife said it wasn't him, and a lot of people said it was either him or it wasn't. Either way, I've seen him guaranteed at a couple of events where he came and spoke, and the guy is a tiny guy. So I just think it's funny that he's wearing this huge cowboy hat. Some people, I don't know. Do you agree that some people can pull off a cowboy hat and some people just can't? It says that Elon Musk has mocked billionaire rival Jeff Bezos for apparently focusing on government lobbying rather than developing rockets. The pair have traded places as the world's richest person in recent years, using their vast wealth to fund their private space companies. Mr. Musk's SpaceX won a lucrative contract from NASA earlier this year to develop a Starship craft for the 2024 Artemis mission, which aims to return humans to the moon. I know that anytime we talk about missions to the moon, people get on fire in the comments. One thing that everyone asks, and you should ask yourself, why was the last time that we went to the moon decades and decades ago, when the technology back then was so far behind what it is now? How would it not be incredibly easy? That kind of question, once you ask yourself and really think about the kind of technology we had when we went to the moon, again, the computer in the original moon lander supposedly was the same computing power as a chip in a birthday card that sings happy birthday when you open it up. I'm not even kidding you. That little chip inside one of the birthday cards that you get at Hallmark or in Safeway, that card is actually as much computing power as supposedly the lander was back when they first landed on the moon. So why have they not been back? It's super confusing. And the more you ask yourself that, you go, well, how could they not, if it's, right there, we can look at it with, again, I like how Ryan Upchurch put it. We can look at the craters with binoculars and get up close. Again, it's right there. Why can't they, why haven't they gone up there? Or are they up there, and have they been up there the entire time? Do they have whole big missions up there? Do they have staff up there? One thing that I want to say is go look at the actual, not only the rumors, but some of the leaks that came out a few years ago of a staff that was extraterrestrial, or what was it called? It was non-terrestrial soldiers. Terrestrial means here on Earth. Non-terrestrial would mean they're not on Earth. And all of the names, there was a ton of them, and it didn't even match up with the astronauts that are on the ISS. It would make sense if those were soldiers and it was, supposedly the people on ISS or wherever, but it wasn't. So what are these non-terrestrial soldiers doing up there? Do they have some sort of spy network up there? Do they have satellites looking back down on us? How would we not see that? China just recently landed on the dark side of the moon. All sorts of questions are being raised. Mr. Bezos' Blue Origin firm missed out on the funding for this moon project and the moon lander kind of rover things, prompting them to file a 50-page protest to the government accountability office that accused NASA of, quote, moving the goalposts at the last minute. Blue Origin described the bidding process as, quote, flawed, to which Mr. Musk replied, can't get it up to orbit, LOL. On Wednesday evening, the SpaceX boss built on this jab by tweeting, if lobbying and lawyers could get you to orbit, Bezos would be on Pluto right now. So also just a thing to throw in there that it might not be that, Bezos wasn't the best competitor. Maybe it was because his price was a whole $1 billion more. Just saying, maybe that's why. It sounds like he's being a sore loser, but again, when there's that much money at risk, what's your opinion? And then, of course, Google says it has created a time crystal in a quantum computer, and it's weirder than you can imagine. Dex, why are companies like this actually developing anything like this?
This time crystal thing is really it's really hard to understand, and I'm going to try and simplify it the best I can. Is imagine you like you could flip a coin, it's heads or tails, but imagine you have a whole bunch of these things and you can do them a certain number of times, and it will remember where it started, and it'll remember the odd and even, the every other time example of all of these coins flipped, right? It's this really strange way of looking at, part of the way I guess our universe in theory works, and it's something we've never been able to model. And by the way, none of us probably even understand this. There may be one or two people out there that understand what I'm even talking about. I don't even understand what I'm talking about. But what we do understand is that they're using these computers to actually model these impossible things that are just theories that we just couldn't really figure out. And now these massive computers are able to, quantum computers are able to actually sit down and try to show that these things actually exist and model them. And that's what they're doing. And, I'm not going to be able to tell you what in the heck you're going to do with a time crystal. And it's not like, I'm going to pull out a time crystal and ask it to take me to some other place in time. But it is obviously something that's really important in the scientific community. And for them to be able to now model this, something they could have never done before, is sort of a big deal. And it's part of what we're going to see with these massive machines, these, huge quantum computers. So.
And again, this company, the blue highlighted company, the owner, the daddy of course, this platform and everything else that you could probably imagine. Again, I don't think people realize how much this company owns as far as they have, Congress and different people saying monopoly and all this. How many companies they secretly own as well, like companies you use, things that you wouldn't even realize. Kind of like where, a lot of people, my friend even, he bought an Oculus and didn't realize that he would have to download Facebook to get it because Facebook owns it. It's all these mergers and all these things. This company owns some conflicting companies to this time crystal thing. Let me just read a part of this, but then most likely you're going to need to want to go back on this and actually read this from our website, marfooglenews.com. I just do want to read this little blurb. It says, Google scientists now rather excitingly say that their results establish a scalable approach to study time crystals on current quantum processors. In a new research paper, Google scientists claim to have used a quantum processor for a useful scientific application to observe a genuine time crystal. If time crystal sounds pretty sci-fi, that's because they are. Time crystals are no less than a new, quote, phase of matter, as researchers put it, which has been theorized for some years now as a new state that could potentially join the ranks of solids, liquids, gases, crystals, and so on. The paper remains in preprint and still requires peer review. Time crystals are also hard to find, but Google's scientists now rather excitingly say that their results establish a scalable approach to it. Understanding why time crystals are interesting requires a little bit of background in physics, particularly knowledge of the second law of thermodynamics, which states systems naturally tend to settle in a state known as maximum entropy. Now, from on here, again, you're going to want to go through this. I'm not going to try to act like I understand this completely, but one point I do want to make is that there are things, knowledge is doubling every day, and we can all claim to be smart. In fact, I come from a family of Mensa people, and I am not smart. I do not ever claim to be the smartest or one of the most intelligent people on the world. But the most intelligent people that are here, the Einsteins of today, which most of them won't be famous until after they're dead, they are working on things like this. And there are a lot of countries all over the world getting into stuff that is morally even wrong in some cases. We're talking about AI, quantum physics, quantum processing, the quantum computers. Once that comes about, it's going to change our way of life. And it's already basically here. We have a lot of people that are kind of screaming out loud saying, don't do this, but it's going to happen regardless. We're talking about some scary, scary stuff. We're talking about Terminator type stuff, Skynet type stuff. Frankie Rio says receipts for everything, especially when dealing with establishments. Good point. Bayberries, thank you so much for your support. Lisa Marie S. says, hi fam, why does the US Gov buy the majority of the world's helium every year? Question everything. I don't know. That is a good question. Brando's Ego, thank you so much for subscribing. Prep Her, thank you. Susan Gessel, thank you for subscribing. David Sharp, thank you as well. And then Veteran Steve, thank you for pledging on Patreon. That's huge. Thank you so much for your support. Everyone who ends up joining Patreon, I really do appreciate you guys, and thank you. George Kolskuski Thank you for subscribing. Jen Houston, thank you for subscribing as well. Melendez Squad, welcome. Seeking Truth, welcome to the fam. And Ghost Baby Guy, a.k.a. Veteran Steve, thank you for last night being the last one out. I did not end up seeing that. Same with Watcher 2. Thank you as well for being one of the last ones out on the show. Over on DLive, a lot of really great people. Thank you. Gone Girl, 777, popping in as always. Thank you so much for being here, Gone Girl. Zippy Moons, Mystic Truth Ninja, thank you as well. What are you doing, Gone Girl? Are you riding around? Thank you, and thank you. And then it says, Putin arrests. Let's see here. Putin arrests second Russian scientist for spying and leaking hypersonic missile secrets to NATO. It says the second Russian university scientist has been arrested for treason after he was accused of sharing classified information to an unspecified NATO country. Dex, I wonder, they don't say which country they shared it with? Like, that's kind of weird, especially since this is...
Yeah, I don't know that Putin wants to give out much information here other than he's been arrested, right? I mean, this is a big deal in the sense that, on one hand, we haven't, and it's kind of odd too. I don't want to necessarily believe we need Russia's information on hypersonic missiles, but at the end of the day, they apparently have one that works, and they've put it into production, or not even in production, into commission, and we have one that has failed both of its tests. So there is a big disparity, at least publicly, between our two systems, right?
Yeah, exactly. And well, I want to know what country this is too. I mean, obviously, they're working with some of the, nasty ones, right? So it's not like, they're voluntarily giving it to some of the nasty ones. Did they give it to an ally? Did they give this information to somebody that we're actually good with? Did they give it to, say, Taiwan or something? How did they, I really want to know when this comes out. We're going to follow it. It says the Federal Security Services, FSB, have accused this gentleman of passing classified data to a Western intelligence source in regard to a development of a new aviation technology, aka the hypersonics. It says he is believed to be a key figure in Russia's latest hypersonic weaponry push, and it's believed that any leak would not be taken lightly. I wonder if they'll actually take this guy out. Like, they'll say, you're to be put to death. It says in April, Professor Valery Golubkin, who lectures, 69 years old, lectures at the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, was also arrested following claims of NATO spying-related charges. He is still awaiting trial, and if found guilty, could face up to 20 years in prison. That's actually kind of light, considering the technology that might have been passed. I guess it depends. We don't know exactly what was passed or if it was so important that it could help somebody else build these things, but pretty incredible. It says the deadly Zircon, or Tzirkin, was unleashed at a speed of Mach 7 at a land target from the frigate Admiral Gorshkov in the White Sea off the northwest coast. Why these hypersonics are so important is there was no system to defend. I believe that before hypersonics, we may have had hypersonic technology, or we may have had it for 20 years. I don't know. I do know that they've had technology, secret technologies that the public wouldn't get for, years and years. I do, after talking to a couple people that were higher up, I do believe, though, that we weren't as far ahead as we thought we were. I always thought in my head, and I'm sure probably a lot of you agree with this, that our military was 20, 30 years in advanced. That they had stuff, 30 years ago. In some cases, yes, for like certain very specific things that they used on secret missions, yes. But on a lot of things, they were only about 3 or 4 years ahead. And really what would happen is the military would use it now, closer to modern technology in modern times. They were about 3 or 4 years ahead. And then after the military tested it, they would then pass it down to law enforcement. Law enforcement, which, again, Lisa Marie was talking about, they're gaining access to all sorts of crazy technology that they probably shouldn't have. Really weird stuff. And we're talking the next generation of scary. So we'll probably have a future episode talking about some of those, but hypersonics, there's no defense against them. If they can go Mach 7, that would be like hitting a hypersonic Mach 7 bullet with a hypersonic Mach 7 bullet. I mean, it's way harder than what it was before. I guess my point, though, was when it was regular nukes at regular speeds, I believe that we did have a better defense system than what they said. Otherwise, we would have lost, the number one spot a long time ago, I think. But while we're still on the subject of course, Russia and China, I do want to remind everyone to go over and check out EMP Shield. What this does is it protects you against actual electromagnetic pulses or EMPs, but it also supports a channel that you love. Again, every purchase of an EMP Shield ends up giving us a small commission and gives you a giant $50 off per device. We are one of the very few affiliates that actually get that because we were one of their first. In fact, now they're a huge company. When we started with them, they were, again, just a small company hand making these in Kansas. Now they have government contracts with agencies like DOD, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and, of course, the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. So this is legit Keystone military tested, of course, equipment that can protect you against all three phases of an EMP. It can protect your car. There's a device for your car, for your RV, your generator, your house, even your ham radio. There's pretty much a device for everything. Make sure to go over to the website and check them out. That is marfooglenews.com/EMP. They still choose to make these 100% in the USA. Again, it can also protect you against the natural kind, solar flare, and now they are shipping, again, all over the world again. So thank you so much for supporting us, and thank you for protecting yourself. All right, Dex, do you want to talk about, of course, the ICBM test that the Air Force just did?
Well, absolutely, Adam. We've seen this before. We've seen some of these amazing looking shots over the water, like in Florida. And again, they continue to test these ICBM launches. So this is yet another one, and it looks like it went off as expected in another test. I'm sure it's really more of a demonstration for the public or for our adversaries, and probably one that we have to keep putting on right now, given the state that we just talked about with hypersonic, right?
So this was, again, a Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile launch. And anytime they launch these things, people get a little bit nervous. But of course, it's better to test them and have them ready than not to have them ready. Airmen of the Air Force Global Strike Command, what a cool name. That's almost like the creators of South Park could do a movie on that. Air Force Global Strike Command launched an unarmed Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile equipped with a test re-entry vehicle from Vandenberg Space Force Base, California. It says, well stripped of its nuclear payload for the launch, the ICBM contained conventional explosives aboard a high-fidelity joint test assembly re-entry vehicle, which successfully detonated above the water surface near Kawahajian Atoll, Marshall Islands, some 4,200 miles away from the launch site. It says, quote, today's test launch is just one example of how our nation's ICBM fleet demonstrates operational readiness and reliability of the weapon system. It also allows us to showcase, of course, the amazing level of competence and capability our airmen have. So 4,200 miles is that, I mean, that's farther than from Seattle to New York. So that's a huge distance, and they ended up actually landing this thing. Or I'm sorry, they ended up hitting their target, which not all of them do. A couple tests that we covered last year failed miserably and didn't even get far, and we were starting to look like NK. And then, of course, mysterious high-altitude airspace closure appears alongside Nellis Range Complex. Dex, do you think they were testing something top secret here?
Yeah, it certainly seems to be like they're creating a path where they can move stuff because of the fact that this connects a couple of bases. So if they've got some secret aircraft they want to move, this sounds like they're creating the airspace for it to happen, right?
Okay, so we've covered how they have talked about how they can get weapons to anywhere in 30 minutes. And they're talking about, a high altitude or even a space vehicle that would get weapons from one place to another. I almost wonder if this is clearing this airspace for one of these kind of ventures here. So I'll show people what we're talking about. It says the odd altitude reservation, which they're basically saying, nobody can go in this certain airspace, even though it's above where normal planes would go, they still have to declare it. It says could be used to bridge two huge range complexes together for the movement of secret aircraft, among other possibilities. It says a somewhat bizarre airspace restriction will go into place above one of the busiest flight corridors in the western United States on Thursday, August 12th, from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Pacific time. The box-like altitude reservation, or ALTREV, a high-altitude chunk of airspace from 45,000 to 60,000 feet, sits nestled between military operating areas, or MOAs, that are part of the R-258 range complex that surrounds Edward Air Force Base and Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake to the west, and the Nevada Test and Training Range. So, remember, China Lake, didn't we have some crazy stuff happen at China Lake just not too long ago, or am I wrong? Was China...
Well, since that earthquake, I mean, there's been a little bit of activity and interesting things happening there, but the quake was really big too, right?
But that was where it happened, right? Underneath China Lake, it just happens to be a weapons testing facility. They had a massive earthquake, and they basically said it centered right underneath it. It shook the whole town, right? So they were doing some big things even just a year or 2 years ago. Now they have this weird path from there to there. What are they actually testing? It says this box of sky sits above an alley-like corridor that streams of airliners travel through, coming and going from LV and other major population centers in America's Southwest. So, again, credit all of this to the new Area 51 Twitter user that actually found all of this out. So, really, really good and keen observation. And then we have, of course, Chinese nuclear attack subs stalking Britain's, of course, new aircraft carrier across the Pacific. It says, but they were detected by anti-submarine sonar operators aboard the frigates protecting the carrier strike group. Two 7,000-ton Shang-class submarines, which are armed with cruise missiles, were located by specialists in the operations room of the HMS Kent and HMS Richmond as the corridor group left the South China Sea and moved into the Pacific Ocean. It says the Royal Navy had expected activity from the Chinese submarines and Beijing's intelligence gathering spy ships, and the carrier was shadowed for a short period before being located by sonar radar. Operators aboard the frigates, which were working together in a sweep pattern, pinged naval terminology for locating a subsurface contact. Within 6 hours of leaving the South China Sea, an area over which Beijing insists it has sovereignty of the sea, after it built several artificial islands. It says, quote, China is growing its subforce at speed, and we must not underestimate them. But they do not have the combat experience that U.S. and U.K. submarine squadrons developed as a result of cold operations in the deep, dark spaces of the Atlantic. Okay, so one thing that this points out, and this is from an official, is saying that they are amassing their submarines at speed. That, Dex, I mean, does that not totally back up what my source said 2 years ago? And again, something I've said this whole time, that they are mass producing and way, way more than what the public knows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If we think that they're not producing and building out the biggest military they possibly can as fast as they can, then you've got our head in the sand, right? I mean, it's their mission, it's their goal. They publicly stated it, they've shown it, they continue to do it. They've adopted everything from, non-military watercraft like ferries to, rolling out amphibious ships and other things to add to their equipment list. I mean, they're going as fast as they can.
Okay, so if you're new here, there's a lot of stuff that we've covered over the last 2 years, but just to sum this up kind of on one hand, China was not the largest navy just 5 years ago. Now it is the largest navy, and it is the largest navy by over 100 ships. I don't believe that even includes the subs. The subs are getting mass produced. They are now mass producing jets. Of course, their Air Force is now on track. As of last week, somebody in the China task force said that they were producing air equipment at a rate that has never seen before in history. They believe that they are trying to be the biggest air force in the world in a short amount of time. Now, remember, they did steal our technology for our latest and greatest jets just about 3 years ago, I believe, or it may have been about 2.5 years ago. So they have our designs. People keep underestimating China, and there's this old school thing, and it's really ingrained in all of us that says China is like, broken down and they make crappy stuff. Anybody that knows kind of a lot of the stuff that comes out of there, even the knockoffs now, are actually higher quality than some of the Japanese brands that make some of this stuff. I know from a lot of these things because they started changing their format. They also started implementing technology in all of their factories and ended up cutting people out of it. In fact, that's a whole nother video in itself, their whole system of, work until you're 50 and then switch out. But they are doing all sorts of things. Now, they also have increased their nuclear silos. Again, now we have proof and satellite imagery and evidence that they are mass producing these nuclear silos, actually constructing them, building them, and putting them everywhere. Now, that could be used for, pounding their chest. But again, this isn't NK. This is China. And China, again, Xi Jinping has said over the last couple of years, in the last 2 years specifically, and actually since 2017, has told his military to focus on the future war. Not only that, he's told his Marines to focus on a near future conflict with Western countries. They actually told their soldiers to prepare for war. They actually told their soldiers to spend time with family and to even write goodbye letters. A lot of people say that was some sort of propaganda or, beating their chest or saber rattling, but that was actually leaked. A lot of that was put out afterwards that happened, and then the China Post put it out because somebody already had put it out, so they ended up putting it in their government-funded newspaper. So I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff there. That's not even all of it. We just had 100 or half or 90 of the 200 Chinese nuclear scientists all resign on the same day. These are government research and development rocket scientists, literal rocket scientists, all left in the same day. What does that tell you? It tells me, and it told other countries that actually covered it, that they're doing something so morally wrong that, of course, these Chinese scientists were willing to basically ruin their careers and have a target on their back for the rest of their lives. You don't just leave the Chinese government, and especially the Chinese military industrial complex, and say, I'm going to get another job at McDonald's or something. I don't want to do it anymore. You're going to have a target on your back. You might be blacklisted from everywhere. You won't be able to have a career. You might be broke, or you might even be imprisoned over there. Because you can't just replace a rocket scientist. You can't just put out a classified for a top secret clearance kind of scientist. So why did half of all of their nuclear scientists all resign in one day? That's what I want to know. Again, if you know any information on that, email me, adam@marfooglenews.com. And then, of course, quote, Beijing is using technology to locate our positions, but are deploying submarines to reinforce their wider intent to move towards superpower status and dominate trade and security across the Pacific, contrary to international law. It says Beijing operates 6 new second-generation submarine, officially known as the Type 093 class, which entered service in 2006. Boasting a crew of 85, they can stay at sea for 80 days with the capability to deliver supersonic ship-killing missiles. Royal Navy Astute class submarine is understood to have identified a third Shang boat as it patrolled ahead of the task force in what submarines call running silent, a process in which no noise is made by the crew and allows operators to locate any subsurface contact. Now, one more thing to add to that is the heavenly mandate that the actual country and the culture has. The heavenly mandate is something that the leader should have. If they look up at their leader and they say, if they have the heavenly mandate or if they've lost the heavenly mandate, can actually be based on things like if there's massive disasters like what we had just recently with flooding, massive flooding in China, and these freak disasters, freak floods, freak fires in China, freak earthquakes. The culture actually looks at that as a sign from God saying that the leader has lost the heavenly mandate, that he's not doing a good job and should be replaced. This is what was going around their version of social media, which is a lot to say considering they know they're being monitored at all times, and they were still saying it. Well, that pissed Xi Jinping off, and sources close to him said that he is going to do anything and everything to become number one. He is absolutely set on it. He 100% believes it. I guess personally, as a person himself, he is very religious about their culture, and he spends a lot of his time in meditation and doing all these things. So, there's not much, people don't know much about Xi. They know the public stuff, but privately, there have been some defectors that have said some very scary stuff about him. He is dead serious. He is not Kim Jong. He's not Putin. This guy is savage. And that is my opinion. I don't think people should underestimate China. Remember, the public wasn't talking about China, and we've been talking about it the whole time. We predicted that they were going to push everybody into now hating China because they're getting people ready for a war. We are now going to be pushed into our brains and our minds, getting us all red in the eyes and hating a single country because they need all of us to be on the same page. They don't have to have us. They could do it without, but it's a lot easier to do horrible things when you have the support of the people. We're close, and anybody that says that's fear-mongering or war-mongering or whatever, you're welcome to watch something else. I'm not going to change my view. I've talked to several high-ranking military officials, including a gentleman at the DOD that I 100%, he put the last nail in the coffin for me as far as I am not changing my view. I believe within 2 years we will be at conflict, and I hope and I pray that I am wrong. I really do. Dex, I'm sure you pray that I am wrong as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the writing's on the wall. I mean, the fact that they're insistent on taking Taiwan and saying it publicly. I mean, this is not, like you said, this is not like Kim, saber rattling. This is legit. I mean, they did it with Hong Kong, and Taiwan's next, and who knows what happens after that? If it's another island, or maybe all the way down to Australia.
And you can see that half of the government and half of celebrities, because the Chinese government owns all of these media companies, they own all of the big movie companies. I can't reiterate it enough. The John Cena, whether you're offended by it or think he's a weenie or whatever else, that actually does show you a lot. That nobody in Hollywood came out against him because they all know why he did it. Nobody in Hollywood. I saw no big celebrities saying, John Cena, why are you apologizing to China and doing this? He actually learned Chinese to personally go, I'm sorry. I respect you as a people. I respect you. This is a guy who, literally was the epitome of an American dude. He's buff, and he was a wrestler, and he was American flag. And he's sitting there learning Chinese to say sorry. Well, guess what? If he said anybody who says Taiwan is a country and it's its own thing, that is an actual breakage of their rules, to the point where the White House actually deleted a tweet that implied that Taiwan was its own country. Even the White House is like, oh, sorry to step on your toes. That's how serious they take it. Think about that. For the White House to remove a tweet, it's like that causes more turmoil than, say, a plane going in the wrong airspace or something like that. Just saying that Taiwan is its own country is a huge deal in their eyes. And John Cena, he would have been blacklisted from the next Fast and Furious or the next Suicide Squad movie. He would not have another job if he didn't say that sorry. All because he said that Taiwan was a country. What that tells us is this is a very scary place where we have half of our country and half of the world somehow in bed with China. They are running things, and they are running things secretly and in the open. Nobody called them out for that except for, the other half. It's like, Why would you apologize to China? I mean, wow. Unless it meant, oh yeah, that's right. China owns all of these media companies, all these movies that have a spin, all of this stuff that has come out over the last years. We found out that all of these newspapers and things were taking money directly from the government to post kind of pro-China stuff. All of these are getting deleted somehow. That tells you something too. Look that up. You'll see that if they're deleting the evidence of this, that means there's going to be a huge push in the entire planet's view of things. We're here, folks. So get prepped up, get prayed up, and of course, put on the armor of God. About 8,000 U.S. troops are deploying to secure evacuations from Kabul. Again, that was my opinion. I do want to clarify that for anybody that's new. We try to back up anything and everything we can. When it is my opinion, I'll tell you. And that is my opinion. And I hope people that have been around for 3 years, you guys already know. We called CV, we called a lot of things, and people say, oh, nothing's coming. Just think about that. 3 infantry battalions are on their way to the Kabul airport. So weird. I feel like they used this picture for a rocket attack like 2 years ago. Like this exact picture. I don't know why it stuck out so much. Thousands of U.S. troops are deploying to help secure the evacuation of civilians from the Kabul embassy. There's always something stinky happening here. It says, at the same time, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby told a reporter another 1,000 troops are headed to Qatar to help process special immigrant visas for Afghan interpreters. Well, an entire infantry brigade combat team will set up in Kuwait as an on-call reaction force as the Taliban advances its campaign to take provincial capitals around the country. You know what else this possibly could set us up for, though? Is another T attack. And we're talking about a massive one on a whole nother scale. We're talking about the next September 2001 to get the evil box back checked and planned. So, Dex,
are we going to support our embassy there, or are we going to pull out? That's the question. Like, they're getting really close to taking the embassy. And that's obviously why we're scrambling soldiers in to protect that and all of our other assets. But, are we going to just walk away from it completely, or are we going to protect that? Because if we're going to protect that, then we're not pulling out. We're going to spend a lot of time now just changing the reason why we're there.
Well, and Dex, as we follow the official narrative, what they're saying is that the T-ban, we'll call them T-ban, over there are taking back over the whole country. Or the taking back over everything. Do you think that? Well,
yeah, sure. If we pull out, then and we're not supporting the government that was put in place, of course they're going to fall back to the other leadership that was there before, as long as they're strong enough.
This is some pretty crazy stuff. It says, quote, I want to stress that these forces are being deployed to support the orderly and safe reduction of personnel at the request of the State Department and to facilitate an accelerated process of working through an SIV applicants. Kirby said this is a temporary mission with a narrow focus. So what do you guys think is really going on over there? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. And then Frankie Rios, thanks again, says, yeah, the White House deleting the tweet. Look who's in it. Controlled. I agree we will be at conflict because we've shown weakness. Oh, like big time. Like, sorry, daddy kind of weakness. Because somebody's on the payroll. Paul Williams, thank you for subscribing. Corey Spiker, I think I said that right. Or Spicher or Spiker, I think. Thank you for subscribing. EO2 Dave, thank you so much for coming in. It says the sky is not falling yet. Yes, no, that is correct. And then Coco Scott, thank you. S. Reed, thank you as well for subscribing. Chaos 0069. Lots of new people. If you do subscribe during the show, you will get a shout out. Thank you, everybody that has joined us. The burden of proof should always be on the government, says Frankie Rios. AR-15 Rich, I love that. AR-15 Rich has subscribed. And then Rowena Haps, thank you, and thank you. Thank you for everybody that is supporting, and then especially over on D-Live. A lot of people over there that are just popping in now. Miss Me V2, thank you. Lisa K23, Says, Car Show, the truth will set you free. Hey, thank you guys for supporting independent media. Susie P, thanks for the truth. Mystic Truth Ninja, have a good night. I really hope that you do watch the replay. Good night, fam, catching the replay. Serenity PA, we've got Edgy Whalen. Thank you for the lemons over there. Gone Girl 37. Thank you for being there. And Scooby-Doo Do-Right, thank you for gifting out badges to people. That really is appreciated. Gone Girl 777 says, I break for Marfoogle News. Woot woot. And then Gone Girl 777 says, always riding Gone Girl in the wind. That is, I love it. And then Scooby-Doo Do-Right, Team Jesus. I love it. Gone Girl 777. Again, you guys, thank you. Zippy Moons, again, always on the leaderboard. Thank you, Zippy, for supporting us. And then, of course, Sandra in Texas. Thank you. And Iberian Girl. Everybody that supports the show, just realize, again, you guys are a backbone. Without you, think about everything else. That they're not pushing us up on a pedestal. A lot of people saw that other video went viral. I would say that 350,000 views in a day is viral. That is all because of Facebook. You guys were sharing that. That's not because everything was getting pushed. That was because of Facebook. So that means the people, you as the audience, were sharing that out, and people were sharing that to get that to go viral. So thank you. We don't have that happen because of what's going on. So thank you, and thank you. So we'll follow the situation. So that was one set of people going to basically go save their butts, right? It says UK troops sent to get Britons out of Afghanistan. So again, this is two different sets. This was these guys getting them out, U.S. troops to get people out, and then this is UK troops sent to get Britons out of Afghanistan. It says UK announces about 600 troops are deployed to Afghanistan to assist British nationals to leave. This breaking news story is being updated, and more details will be published shortly. So they're going in and pulling people out. Something is definitely going down over there. So we will follow the situation very closely. If you're not subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't liked this video, please remember to do so. That does help us out getting recommended to new people. Real quick, I do want to remind everyone, today's show is brought to you by NordVPN. If you are not protected on the cyber front, I highly recommend going and doing so. This is one of the easiest virtual private networks you can use. There's literally an easy mode where you just toggle a switch just like a light switch. All you have to do is press on or off, and it will hide your IP. It will stop you from getting data logged by governments or, of course, bosses alike or whoever is trying to get into your stuff. And then, of course, it will also be good for getting information out. There were several people at the beginning of CV that were getting information out of China because they put their IP address somewhere else. If you don't understand how this works, they have more information on the website. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. You'll get a giant discount of upwards of up 70% or equivalent if you go over there and use the special code Marfoogle. Again, one account is good for 6 different devices. So you can put it on your computer, your kid's computer, again, your cell phone. People don't realize you can put a VPN on your cell phone. marfooglenews.com/VPN. Make sure to use that special code Marfoogle. Thank you guys for supporting us. And then Dex, passenger and military jets both report seeing a UFO over eastern Canada. What?
Yeah, apparently the report that's coming in is it's coming from multiple sightings of the same thing. So, yeah, I'm sure this has happened before, but it's really interesting when you get to see a double report like this, right?
Yeah, and so we have a broad set of people on Twitter as well kind of weighing in on this. It says, a July 30th report describes a bright green flying object that flew into a cloud and then disappeared. It says, on the night of July 30th, a Canadian military and a KLM Royal Dutch Airlines flight reported a UFO over the Gulf of St. Lawrence. According to an aviation incident reported on that night of August 11th. Isn't that funny? This happened on August 11th. Both flights reported seeing a bright green flying object that flew into a cloud then disappeared in a stretch of open water between Quebec and Newfoundland. I wonder if this was a test of something. When I think of green bright green. I also think of some of the Triton missiles and stuff that's been sighted off of the California coast and off of the Florida coast. When they launch these things, some of it has like that bright green, or a meteor, a meteor flying behind a cloud and then disappearing. Was this a UFO? Was it a meteor? Or was it some sort of test of a secret, ship? Let us know what you think down in the comments below. It says the KLM passenger flight, KLM 618, was traveling from Boston to Amsterdam while the Canadian military transport aircraft was flying between CFB Trenton, a base in Ontario, and Cologne, Germany. A few other details were made available in the report, which appeared in CADORS, the Canadian government's Flight Incident Archive. In a previous story, Vice World News showed how this digital database contains dozens of UFO reports from airlines such as Air Canada, Porter, and WestJet. In a June investigation, Vice World News revealed how Canadian military personnel have been reporting UFOs for decades. Of course, nobody ever covered it, right? So, yeah, and remember, Paul Hellyer was the Canadian defense minister. This guy was in charge of the defense over his country of Canada, and he was one of the people that was one of the first professionals and somebody who was in a high-ranking position to basically say that not only are UFOs real, they're as real as the planes above you today. That was one of his quotes, that basically that they were as real as the planes above you, and as frequent and as real as the planes above you. Paraphrasing a bit, but that's pretty close to his direct quote. Global Witness, hey, thank you for stopping by. If you guys haven't checked out Global Witness, he is popping up on 100,000 or more subscribers on YouTube. He's a big channel, but he's also a really good guy. He visited and I missed out, and I really feel bad about missing out meeting with him. Global Witness, I really, really feel bad about that, and I really wish I didn't had so much going on with my at-home family, so I really apologize. Please support Marf and creators holding to the kingdom. The kingdom is within. Thank you, Global Witness, and God bless you, and I appreciate you, and just really, really, really wish I could have met up with you. It would have been really, really cool. Charity Sullivan, thank you so much. Aunt Jenny says, thanks, Marf and Dex, for all you do. Fugler, chat, you rock too. Remember to keep it down there like you are talking to your grandma, or at least polite-wise. Remember, we don't put anybody down in the chat. Thank you, mods, for holding it down. WV, I don't know if you're here. CJ Blaze, you're most likely here. Again, all of the Bones. Well, Rip Curl I haven't seen in a while. Thank you guys all for holding it down there. Chance, of course, our new mod, Gem. Thank you, everybody. Elric Hage, thank you for subscribing. And Frankie Rios, again, thank you for your support. Whatever they are, these kinds of enigmatic objects and lights have caught the attention of the U.S. government, which has openly investigated UFOs for years and recently released a report on 143 U.S. military sightings, including objects that appeared to, quote, maneuver abruptly or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. Very odd. We'd love to get, again, I would trying to get Tyler on the show, Tyler from Secure Team. Would you guys like an interview with him? Would that be something that you guys would be interested in? Prince Andrew refusal to talk to Epstein investigators, straining relations between the UK and America. Dex, of course he's not going to talk to investigators. Are you kidding? Like, that would admit some sort of guilt, would it not?
Yeah, it certainly would admit that there's something to be talked about, right? But it's also causing quite a bit of rift, I guess, between with everyone back at the palace, right? Like, they don't want to deal with this, and they don't know. I guess they're sort of stuck. Like, there's no way to sort of make this go away, and he won't talk and he won't participate, and the world's asking him to, and it just doesn't look good.
I'm just surprised they're actually still doing something, because it just seems like everybody forgot about this whole thing. The guy was off in a prison, or at least that's my opinion, or he got swooped out of there and he's sitting on an island drinking Mai Tais somewhere. I mean, the guy had so many high-end friends, and I believe he had enough evidence on somebody that they couldn't take him out, that there would be some sort of kill switch to where if he was taken out, all of this information would be released. Maybe some government was so confident that they had his stash or his information that they were able to take him out. But he didn't take himself out. Are you kidding? The guy was rich. He was able to get out of almost anything. He got out of a prison sentence before. He wasn't even at that point yet. It's not like his high-priced lawyer came in and said, yeah, it's just not looking good. It looks like you're actually going to get the prison time this time. I don't think he would give up. The guy was too in with everybody. The guy had world leaders, princes, everybody that came to his house. If you look at the evil stuff that was done there, the temples and the weird symbols, that should tell the majority of the United States and anywhere in the world that there is evil stuff going on, and it's not a bunch of myths and stories. There are real people that do it. They have scientific evidence to say that young people, and I'm talking about young, their stuff that goes throughout all of their body, that using that stuff can make people young. It can actually reverse aging side effects. So you don't think that these people that are beyond rich, that literally look at us like pieces of poo on the bottom of their shoes, you don't think that they're doing some weird stuff with that? And of course, if you know someone who is die-hard religious as far as Christian, you don't think there's the other half? Their whole thing is that they're secretive. They do meetings in secret. That's the really scary part. How many Christians do you know? Do you think that there's just no people that are devoted to the other side? They're just way more secretive about their ways. And they actually have, secret clubs and secret traditions and all of this. That's why people talk about all of these, weird stuff like the Masons and all that. There's some real stuff at the very top. Very scary stuff. And then, again, I'll just... this was actually part of the song here, right?
Round and about we play these games, sounding it out, we know their names. It's WHO. Round and around we blazing flame. Round and about we play these games, sounding it out, we know their names. It's WHO.
China pressured us not to mention the leak in the report, and maybe there's a reason for that. Oh, really? This is, of course, the all non-forgiving agency that deletes us when we say their name. It's like Voldemort for YouTubers. No, really. There are really two significant stories here, both of which come from an interview which Peter Ben Embarek gave to Danish documentary makers. It says Embarek is the person who led the investigation into the origin of the including a visit to He had some interesting things to say about the leak theory. The first bit of news is that the Chinese scientists involved in the investigation did their best not to have the theory mentioned at all in the final report. It says, quote, in the beginning, they didn't want anything about the lab in the report because it was impossible. So there was no need to waste time on that. We insisted on including it because it was part of the whole issue about the where the originated. So remember, people were removed for even suggesting it, for even passing on the rumor of it. Those people have not been put back on. Kind of like what Lisa Marie said in that call the other night. She said, I have seen a lot of freedoms being taken, yet I have seen a freedom being returned. Same with this. It says a discussion of whether to include the lab leak theory at all lasted until 48 hours before the conclusion of the mission. Ben Embrick told the Danish reporters in the end, Ben Embrick's Chinese counterpart eventually agreed to discuss the lab theory in the report on the condition we didn't recommend any specific studies to further the hypothesis. Dex, this is just insane.
Yeah, go figure, right?
There's so much on our web only content. Just so much there. Dex,
absolutely. If you go over to marfooglenews.com, scroll down, click on the thumbnail for the show, and then scroll down to web only content, you'll see the rest of the story. So everything else we can't talk about. It's either too hot for TV, or maybe it's just two-sided. So we try not to, we try to keep things a little neutral here on the main show. But a lot of stuff going on. We were talking about the Pillow Man. He had his stuff going on for 3 days, and if you weren't checking that out,
he got stuffed.
There's been links there for that. Apparently he got, roughed up at one point. And so that's covered there. Lots of other things. The bean counting is really hot right now, obviously, with everything going on with that and that topic this week. So all of the stuff that you're not necessarily going to hear in the mainstream news. So marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for this show, scroll down to web only content. And if you missed yesterday's, do the same. Go look at yesterday's show or the day before.
One of the whistleblowers that actually went as she was flying to go talk at that event, the Secretary of State actually raided her office along with the company who was behind the whole thing. Pretty crazy.
And there's a second
stuff.
raid I heard about. I don't know the details. I need to go research it.
It's over here.
I think it's on there. There's a second raid that happened, which is crazy.
Again, second one down. You'll see opens Thursday with shocking developments. Another home raided. I mean, this is big stuff, people. I hope people realize we're at a precipice of something so massive that people are just all of a sudden getting slapped in the face. Everybody's going to be awake at the same time, and it's going to really suck. It's going to be like the entire world is going to have a bucket of water, just thrown on them while they're asleep. Just whoosh, like don't wake daddy kind of like, oh, it's going to be like that. It's not going to be very fun. Charity Sullivan, thank you so much. Everybody that supported tonight, I appreciate you. Gone Girl 777, thank you, and thank you. Veteran Steve, thank you for your massive support of the channel. Again, you've been on Patreon for a long time now. Thank you so much again for repledging. And then let's see here. If you are not getting notifications from us, remember you can actually go to marfooglenews.com and get our notifications directly to your phone. Just make sure to head over here. I'm trying to pull this up so you have a reference. You can also sign up for our email alerts. If you're not signed up for our emails, or if you are, you'll know we do not blitz your email. We haven't sent one out in a while now. We try to make them important. If we do send an email, we make sure that it is valuable. Maui Racing Realtor, thank you. WJS Jen, Susie P, Angela 1609. I love Dachshunds. Thanks for your massive support. Gone Girl 777, thank you, and thank you. Everybody that supported over on D-Live has been just absolutely cracking lately. Thank you so much. The Recalcitrant, appreciate you. Everybody that has been over at every single show there, thank you, and thank you. We have so much more tomorrow coming, and we have some surprises. Hopefully in the next week, we're going to have a really awesome interview. Again, Greifel, Island by the Sea, everybody that's at every show, MRSA 1, Edgy Whalen, Gem, thank you, and thank you, everybody that has worked hard. Gone Girl 777 is our number one supporter over on D-Live. Mystic Truth Ninja, which I don't think they're here, but again, we're going to make a song for them. Susie P is number 3. Thank you guys for supporting. Gone Girl 777, I believe, is our number 1 over on YouTube. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Dex, thank you for all your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Much love, brother. Great show.
We will be back tomorrow with some amazing stuff. So remember, tune in around 7 o'clock Pacific, and we'll see you then. It is now officially time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.
Mrs. B, CK, Freddie T, and Army Hill and Mrs. Sheets. I eat sheets and look at wine, and me busy and the bond, and the blessings too are gonna go down, 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 down now. I can't hear myself, I gotta fix my body. Oh, 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 oh. I got the full brain worm on the shot show. Mommy Raymore, everybody outro. Shot, wanna show 'em both shush. Going back down north, sure. Conquest Josh on the support. The Kit Kat, the Skit Scat. On the stud, let us all bring it real far. On the Debbie out, on the triple Chevin bar. Round and around, we blazing fame. Round and around, we play these games. Sounding it out, we know their names. It's WHO. The pegs on her, they gonna mellow bang. Move with the 3, Dr. S on the V. Go back or down with the Sky House C. Going with the Dex J, Mr. B. On the music, I love I see. On the Cali, on the hand song. Bring it down, down, and we on the mansion. Latisha floor, bring it on the wall. Bring it on down, and you know I low. Bring it on the stage with a hot hair on that sweet ram. Big on the bar, I bring it on her, I bring it down, down, and you know. Oh, so scary. Damn me do we, oh so scary, Mr. Corey Perry. Wanna bring it down, oh so the fairy. Flying up in the sky, goes baby guy. Hi. TMC, Jim Jam, Remy, with the Ram Ram. Scary on the what when the sweet rams. I didn't buy the sea on the sweet rams. WHO. Round and around we blazing blame. Round and about we play these games. Sounding it out, we know their names. It's WHO. Got it bringing with the Figurios. AR-15 rich short on the adios. Ha! Bring it down and we so close to the war and everybody knows. Frankie Rios, Babe Barry knows. Everybody gotta go back, we all know. These summary airs, one ring her down the stairs. Gonna go 777, oh, oh, oh. Gonna go 777, oh, oh. Gonna go 777, oh.